What's up, people? It is your girl, Keturah, back again with another video. What a surprise. I just wanted to come on here and talk a little bit about, if you watched my previous video talking about my testimony, I kind of shared how coming to the Lord, learning His voice, how it's been a journey. And I kind of wanted to share a little bit about how when you start following the Lord and what that looks like and knowing His voice, and just kind of share my experience of that along with the Word. And so, I want to start off. I have traveled to and lived in, I should say, quite a few places. I mean, not a ton, but the places that I have moved to and gone to have all been from the Lord's leading. And so I just kind of want to share what that has looked like, just in hopes to encourage other people who, if you feel like the Lord's calling you to do and go different places, I feel you. Okay. And it can be interesting. It can be an interesting walk, but very worth it. So the first big time that I felt like the Lord was like explicitly calling me to go somewhere was for college. Now, I'm someone who was very content, like only child. I wanted to be close to my mom. Me and my mom have a really good relationship. And so I never really saw, I just was never the girl. I remember friends in high school who were like, yeah, I want to be like a nurse. I want to be a doctor. I want to be this, I want to be that. I still wasn't that person. I just was like, at this point, my senior year of high school, it was like, I love Jesus. I want people to know Jesus. That's about it. I know I have these like certain giftings and, I know I like speak well. And at the time, I had taken like an AP psychology class. So I was like, I really like learning about people and like how people think and how we move and behaviors of just like humans in general, right? So I was like, I guess like psychology would be something that I kind of like, but had no real like direction. I just know I love Jesus. I love people. And that's about it. So around this time, college fairs are kind of a thing. And my school is very small, so we didn't have like a big deal of like a college fair or anything like that. But there's this one school that I'd never heard of, but they came to do kind of like a college thing for my school and high school. And they offered to fly you out to like visit the school, give you a tour and everything. And I remember I was like, wow, okay. But it was out of state was a problem. It was out of California. And I kind of was like, I don't know. Because I still am at this point, like I'm still kind of, although the Lord is growing me in different areas and confidence and all of these things, I still was like, I don't know. I don't really see myself going out of state. Like, I just don't know. So I go, talk to I forget what they're called, counselor, admissions counselor, whoever comes, recruiter. I think it's like a recruiter. Real cool. And he's just like, yeah, we'll fly you out or whatever. So I kind of that kind of stuck in my mind. This school's in Arizona. Okay. After this one event, never heard of the school beforehand. Not once. Okay. I leave that little seminar, whatever it was. Why do I start seeing it everywhere? Okay. And I'm talking like, I would see flyers for it on the ground. I started seeing like Arizona license plates while we're driving. At this time, they just started, the school was Grand Canyon University, y'all. And I know like nowadays, that's like all they do is marketing. Like since then, people are like, oh yeah, I've seen the commercials. This was at the time, there wasn't no commercials, okay? They had like probably just started at this time because I think that's when they switched to like being a for-profit school, yada, yada. But I'm seeing it everywhere. Like in the most random of places, okay, it's just popping out, popping out, popping out, popping out. And I'm like, okay, like this is so strange. Like I've never seen this school before. And now I'm seeing it everywhere without looking. I remember, I feel like we were I was in the grocery store with my mom, and I would see stuff like in the one grocery cart we pick up. There was like a thing for GCU. So it was crazy. It was a lot. And so I just was like, weird. And so I tell my mom about it, and she was like, well, if they're offering to like fly us out, like, why not? So I was like, okay. So we go and, yeah, we visit the school, and I was like, it seems great. And at the time we went and visited, like my mom took me, to a couple schools in like Southern California. We did like a little college tour trip. I didn't want to be in Northern California. Like a school people always kind of went to was Sac State. And I was like, absolutely not. But every school I went to, there were a few that I was like, yeah, I really like the campus or whatever, but I didn't have the peace about it. But when we finally flew out to GCU, I was like overwhelmed with peace, and just had just the strongest assurance of like, okay, yeah, this is where I'm supposed to be. And things just fell in line so easily, right? Like just so smoothly. And so I started praying about it and was like, Lord, I feel like I'm seeing this a lot, like I feel like you're kind of like, I don't know. It's weird to me that this school is just being like shown so much to me. Like, is this where you want me to go? And I just, in my spirit, just had like the strongest sense of peace out of any other place. Like it wasn't something where I don't remember any time that he was directly like, yes, go to GCU. It was just this strong sense of peace. And I also, another factor that I think was good for me to learn at this time is also just like circumstantially, I got the most scholarships for that school than any other place. Like an abundance of scholarships. I don't remember at the top of my head how many, but it was like a lot of scholarships I got that was just kind of like, wow. Like I was a really good student, but I didn't try very hard. You know what I'm saying? Like I wasn't in like clubs or things to like boost your application. I just didn't really do. But I had good grades. But yeah, they just were like, here's a scholarship, here's a scholarship, here's a scholarship. So in that way I was like, okay, wow. Like that just added to the sense of peace that I feel like the Lord was giving me to go there. So I moved my whole life to Phoenix, Arizona. And yeah, I'm really glad and grateful for my time there. I wouldn't trade it. It was a really special time. Met some really great friends who I'm friends with to this day. So yeah, that's like the biggest move that I initially that I was like, all right, I'm just going to take this leap of faith and move where I was not planning to, but I feel like you're calling me there, Lord, and definitely saw his hand all up and through that time. So yeah, then after college, I was kind of in a very similar place. I ended up getting my degree in communications, and I minored in Christian studies. But I kind of was like, I still don't really know what I want to do with that. Like, I still don't really know. Like, my passions are still, like, I just love Jesus. Okay, I want people to know Jesus. There's, some more things that I feel like I've realized about myself being here, of just like, that I speak really well. Like, I know I'm a great communicator. Shout out to my degree. But that I'm actually like I really love to do things. Oh shoot, don't mess with your mic. I love to do things public speaking wise, and I'm good at it. Writing, I'm really good at. So it's like I gained some. I didn't really. GCU's whole like slogan is like find your purpose. I was just joking with my mom the other day about this. I was like, I don't really think I found my purpose there. But definitely like gained some things, right? Where I'm like, okay, I feel like I learned more about myself, I guess. But we're in my senior year. I graduated a semester early, so I was only in school for like 3.5 years. But at the time that I'm nearing like the end of my schooling, I was in that place of like, okay, Lord, like this was great, but I'm finna have to go. I'm not staying in Arizona. I do know that. This heat ain't no joke. But like, what do we do? What we do? And I don't really have nothing like that. I don't have nothing I'm trying to do. What do you want me to do? Like, and so it was really intentionally praying. And around this time, I started hearing people mentioning internships, right? So I was like, oh, internships. And I feel like a lot of my journey, no shade to like my mom or upbringing or teachers or wherever. Nobody told me, okay, that like, one, you go into college to figure out a career path that you want to stay in for like the majority. Like that's kind of the whole point of college, right? Nobody told me that. I saw college as the 13th, 14th, 15th, and 16th grade. Okay, like when you graduate high school, you're supposed to go to college. That was my mindset going in. Okay, so I didn't really it was like my junior year that I started to realize like, oh, I'm supposed to be choosing a major in things that I want to like actually do for like a job. Like, oh, okay. I don't know what that is though, and I'm kind of late in the game. Like I kind of just went along with what my like advisors was saying, but whatever. So I coming like nearing the end of my senior year, I still was kind of like, I don't really know what I'm supposed to be doing. So I'm hearing people around me mentioning internships and things that they're jumping into, and I'm kind of like, internship is just how with GCU it started standing out to me and kind of just like blinking in my face. I'd be walking and hear someone mention an internship. In class, they bring up internships, and these aren't even like in classes that are like my final senior classes. These are just still they just were in random conversations here and there, here and there. And it just internship was standing out. So I kind of was like, in the same vein, like, Lord, this is standing out to me. Like, do you want me to pursue an internship? And there was a girl on my floor who we were at my school. It was a Christian school. We had, they call them life groups. And so they're basically like community groups, like Bible study groups on each floor that you had. And so she was in my life group on my floor, and she had mentioned she was going to do a ministry internship. And that jumped out at me, and I was like, there's ministry internships? Like, that's a thing? And I just remember like from that conversation, she mentioned ministry internships. And so I was like, oh, okay. Like it just really stood out to me. And so I go back, I pray about it, and I'm getting that same like kind of flood of peace of just like, yeah, like this is kind of the right direction. And so I'm like, okay, Lord, if you want me to do a ministry internship, like I pray that you would just, show me what that looks like. Show me what you want me to jump into. Because again, I'm still not trying to stay in Arizona. Okay. The only ministries I know really are in Arizona. That's about it. After that, I start hearing, so I don't even hear people talking about internships anymore. I start hearing people talk about Colorado. And I'm like, I'm just walking to classes, or I'm in like the cafeteria or something, and people are like, oh yeah, Colorado, da, 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 Colorado, da, da, da. And I remember at this time I had like flown home or something. So I went to the airport. Over the intercom, I'm just sitting at my gate or whatever, and I hear, such and such flight for Colorado, da, da, da. And so I'm like, why am I hearing Colorado? Like, why is that jumping out to me? So I go back and start praying, Lord, I feel like Colorado is standing out. So I'm like, okay. And I remember the Holy Spirit was like, ministry internships in Colorado. And so I'm like, okay. So I just start literally on Google, like ministry internship, Colorado. And one big one that jumped out, what was the name of it? I think it was like Desperation. It wasn't the internship I ended up at, but it led me there. I think it was Desperation. And they had a big, like young adult ministry internship that they did. And I'm looking into it and I'm like, okay, this seems pretty cool. But it was like, it was the biggest one that stood out. But I also didn't have the piece about this is like the one, like I didn't have the assurance of peace of like, this is it that I've learned to recognize for like when I got led to college. And just the information I took from learning the Lord's voice previously, I gained kind of the assurance again of like, okay, I know when he's speaking in these ways, there is a guidance here that he's leading me to, but it's not clear peace. There's still a rub to it, attention to it that's not 100%. So I'm looking into it. And, time goes by. I graduate in December. And I remember this was probably around like, I don't know, maybe September, October. I'm still kind of keeping my eye on the Desperation group. Then I come to find out there are two leaders, a part of that group, who are like, they're a married couple. And I think I see like one post or something where they were saying they were helping. Okay. I'm trying to break this down, but also keep it concise. It was a married couple. And the brother of the married couple was like the founder, I believe, of the Desperation Conference. I come to find out, I see a post. He actually is planning a church in Kansas City. And the couple that stood out to me, I didn't know they were like siblings at the time, but they, just as a couple, just stood out to me in like the picture, whatever. I come to find out they're moving with the brother to help plant the church, and they're starting their own ministry internship. And I remember when I saw that one post, immediate peace, immediate like, yes. And I think at this time it was kind of a clear word from the Holy Spirit in my spirit that was like, this is it. And so I was like, okay. But this was in Kansas, y'all. And I was like, Kansas. I was very much like, but you was telling me Colorado. And just through prayer and like spending time with the Lord, he kept assuring me, Kansas City, this internship. And I was like, okay. And at this point in my walk, right? So it's been a good like almost 4 years. I'm pretty sure it was like 4 years by the time at this point. And there had just been so many things and assurance from the Lord that like, he just had assured me like, my sheep hear my voice, and a stranger they don't follow. You know my voice, Keturah. You know my directives. We have journeyed together this far, and I have not steered you wrong. Trust me. Like, take that leap of faith and just trust me. And at this time, I don't even think there was a lot of like, standout moments of like, I'm seeing Kansas City everywhere. I don't even think there was that, but there was just the one clear word of like, this is it. And so I'm like, okay. So I apply and I get accepted. And so I'm like, all right, Lord, Kansas City. So to backtrack a little bit, during my sophomore year of college, it was spring break time. And I always made my mom kind of like take a trip together. It was around spring break. My mom was like, do you want to like do anything? Or like, is there any place? Not, we really wouldn't travel like that, like just up and go somewhere. But she just was kind of like, like, has any place stood out? Like, do you want to go anywhere for spring break? And the Lord had been speaking to me through different artists that I had been finding. Like, while I was in college, I started to discover like I really love writing, but specifically, I would just start writing poems and really love to do that just as a way to like express myself, just in journaling. I just discovered like I really love writing poetry. And so I started to discover these Black Christian spoken word artists that were like, I never heard of. I thought it was just like, I was like, this is really unique and really a really niche, cool thing that I don't see anywhere else, like in Christian communities, which were like Jackie Hill Perry, Genetics, Preston. Those were like it was really Jackie and Genetics that I discovered and just was like super inspired by. And I believe at this time they were in Atlanta. So I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then I also discovered at this time Heather Lindsay, who was another like this Black woman who loved the Lord, was really vocal about the Lord. And she was also in Atlanta. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Like these people who I'm kind of like inspired by are in Atlanta. I was like, weird. That was kind of it. Then I believe with Atlanta, it was another situation of like, I start seeing Georgia license plates in Phoenix, Arizona. And I definitely know there was another time I'm in the airport and I hear an Atlanta, Georgia thing, just like the Colorado time. And I was like, but this was before that had happened. And I was like, that just stood out to me. So when my mom asked, like, if there's anywhere you want to go for spring break, like, where do you want to go? And I was like, you know what? You want to maybe visit Atlanta? Like, I had never even thought about it. But I was like, it kind of seems like a cool place and like maybe we could go visit, right? So we go to visit Atlanta for my spring break. And as soon as I got off the plane in the airport, I had this crazy sense of like, this is home. Like, this is going to be your home. Like, I literally remember going, was it up or down? I was on the escalator. It was going down. And seeing the, like, welcome to Atlanta sign and everything. And I just was like, yo, this feels like home. Like, I haven't even gotten off, like, left the airport yet. But this just feels like home. And that entire trip was just, it was so much fun. Like, we had a great time, all the things we did. And I remember just praying during that time. I was like, Lord, what is it with that? Like, do you want me to move here? And I, like, an immediate yes, an immediate clear yes from him. And so I was like, okay. And so I took that though and was like, all right, I'm going to drop out of college. I'm going to move to Atlanta. We're going to do whatever the Lord wants me to do to Atlanta because he said I'm going to move to Atlanta. He said this going to be my home. So that's what we're going to do, okay? Sophomore year of college. And so I started looking for things, but nothing is like, there's nothing that I'm like, can go towards, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's nothing that's a clear, like, him showing me, I want you to go for this reason. And although I had the assurance of like, the Lord is calling me to live in Atlanta, I didn't have the peace to actually get up and go. But I knew it was there. I knew he had told me to go, right? And so that stays with me. And there have been times like even when I was about to leave in internships, I remember I looked for internships in Atlanta and there was nothing, but I just was like, I don't know, he wants me to go. But he's clearly directing me in these other ways. The Colorado, the internship with the people, Kansas City. And so I'm like, all right. So I kind of put up my hands and was like, Lord, I know what you said. You're telling me these other cities though. So I'm just going to trust you because I follow you and I know I hear your voice, and so I'll just trust you. So I moved to Kansas City, y'all, and it was a very healing experience because, like I said in my previous video, of being under unhealthy leadership and manipulative leadership in the church, coming up under and being like super involved with this group and under this leadership was very healing, because it was just encountering people who really loved the Lord, really loved me, really had my best interest in mind, and it was pushing me towards, who God called me to be. It was calling me upward and deeper into Him, and it was a great experience. It was cold, okay. It was cold and it was real humid. The weather was rough. All right, it was rough, but got through it. So I'm in Kansas. The internship was for like a year, but I also learned during this time, I don't think I want to work in ministry in the walls of the church. There wasn't anything bad that happened, but I just learned, with the things that the Lord has put into me, I don't think He wants me to use this passion and the giftings He's put in me in this capacity, which is what was kind of like encouraged through the internship. But I just learned, like, no, I don't think this is the lane that He has for me. And so I was in an interesting place because I didn't have a clear next step. So I'm just kind of in Kansas, all right? Now, during this time, I was there for 2 years. During the end of the I actually don't remember the timeline on this, but it had to be, it was after the year of the internship that I did. Me and my best friend from Arizona was trying to go to the Poets in Autumn tour, which was, the artists there were Jackie Hill Perry, Genetics, Preston Perry, and like all of these artists who I had found during the Atlanta sophomore year situation, right? We tried to go. They had like a Phoenix show when I was still in college in Arizona. It just got canceled out of the blue, okay? Just got canceled. Me and my friend, I believe we like bought tickets or something. Like we got tickets. They canceled, and I was like, dang, like I'm really trying to see these people. They inspire me, yada, yada. Like they have another tour, and I was like, I called up my best friend. I'm like, you know what? Do you want to come like visit? Like I could show you around this new city. She was still in Phoenix at the time. And I was like, and we could get tickets to the Poets in Autumn tour and just like make it a whole like trip or something. And she was like, definitely. So I was like, okay, this will be fun. So we get the tickets. They come, I believe it was like October. And we go to the tour. It's like so great. Everyone who was a part of the group, all were based in Atlanta, right? So I'm there and I'm just like super inspired, like all that they're doing, like their creativity, like just everything about them. I was like, dang, I so relate. Like I feel like these are like my people. Like which was such a switch from the Kansas people I was around. Like I love my people, great friends, great community, love my Kansas folks. But that was not my scene. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm learning and had learned through the internship too of like, yeah, I just didn't fit necessarily with like the things that God has crafted me in and gifted me with. And I didn't fit. But while I'm at this event, I'm like, dang, I feel like this is my, like what they're doing, how they're doing it just feels like my lane. Like I just feel like I so relate. Like I just so relate. And I just felt like just super inspired at that tour. I'm sitting in the audience, okay? And I'm having this moment where I'm like, dang, like I just am thinking too, like with my own poetry and kind of ideas. And I'm like, how can I like really move in these ways? I get a text message. I'm sitting in the auditorium in this event. I get a text message from a woman who I had babysat for in Phoenix, Arizona, who her and her husband are like, they're kind of involved a lot with like the Christian music industry scene. And while I'm babysitting with them back in Atlanta or back in Arizona, I had told them, because it was around that same time that I had got back from Atlanta. And when I tell you, I was telling everybody, like, God told me I'm going to live in Atlanta, y'all. I'm going to Atlanta. I'm going to see when I see it. Like, God told me I'm going to go, right? So I remember I had told them at the time, like, I think I'm supposed to move to Atlanta. I don't know how that looks yet. They had told me at the time, they were like, oh, we have a ton of like connections in Atlanta. Like, just let us know. Like, they were like, there's a church, Blueprint Church. At the time, I remember they had said, there's this new church, Cornerstone, that our friend is starting. That's like, they're just starting it. That immediately stood out to me. Like, I remember the name Cornerstone, and I just was like, okay, yeah, cool. That was basically it, y'all. That was the end of that conversation. Back in, when I was in Kansas City, it was like the year, like 2017 to 2018. I was there 2017 to 2019. I'm talking to them back in like 2015, okay? I'm sitting in the auditorium, super inspired by all of these Atlanta creative people who love Jesus, right? I get a text from the mom of the kids that I would babysit, and she was like, "Hey, we're actually going to be moving to Atlanta, and I remembered that you, like felt called to go there. Like, would love to connect with you." And basically, she just was like, "If you want to move, we can help you." And I was like, "What the heck?" And it was just so trippy to me, y'all, the timing of it, because I'm still in this place of like, internship is over that the Lord called me to do, and I just came fully out of obedience because I want to follow him. I know this chapter is ending, but I don't know what's next. Boom. The word that he gave me from years ago, he's like, it's time. And so I'm like, okay. And so I'm like, but I still don't really know what to do, like how to get there. But I have this like clear connection who just reached out to me. So I was like, all right, Lord. So I started praying about it. And the Lord brought back to me like my desire to encourage people and kind of counsel. Like, that's always been something that I've loved to do and feel like I'm gifted in doing, is just, counseling people, walking with them, encouraging them along their own walks. And so the idea comes of like, why don't you look at getting your master's degree in counseling? And I remember at the time there was like a school in Kansas, because I still, with these journeys, sometimes it can be hard to be like, okay, I have a good community foundation here. Atlanta is like, it is a dream and something that I feel like God's called me to, but like, do I up and go, even though I have this clear word? So there was a school, grad school in Kansas that I was like, maybe I can apply for it. I did, I got accepted, but was like, I don't know. And I remember my mom, a mentor of mine, and then another lady from my church, so counsel, wise counsel, all were like, why don't you look for a grad school program in Atlanta? Like, maybe that can be a way that the Lord can get you to Atlanta. Well, that had never crossed my mind. The importance of wise counsel, y'all. So I was like, oh yeah, that would probably be a good idea. Sure enough, I find a school and I apply, I get accepted. And I up and move from Kansas City to Atlanta, Georgia. And I immediately was like, okay, I want to find a church though. The number one church that just pops in my head before I even look anywhere was Cornerstone Church. And I was like, oh yeah, that was like a place that they had mentioned. And yeah, so I moved to Atlanta. I remember Cornerstone was the first place I went. Instantly found community there, like met some really great friends, and just like there was other girls who had just moved there too, so we connected, and it was just like such a good, such a special, such a special time to kind of live in a promise of the Lord, you know. Whereas one thing that I kind of like I had to hold on to this word that I knew the Lord had told me. I couldn't see how it would work out for years, you know, and he just showed his faithfulness that like, you heard me right. And I am faithful to you and I got you here. And he did. And I moved to Atlanta, Georgia. And it was an incredible growing time. The pandemic happened while I was there, so everything got shut down, which was crazy. But then he just led me in all types of different areas, but just grew me up so much while I was there in a lot of like the ideas that I had that I didn't even know how I could do because no one around me were thinking in those same ways. And Atlanta was such a kind of creative mecca in a sense of like, you know, just like young Black people who I was around young Black people who loved Jesus for real and, you know, have all these creative gifts and dreams and desires and businesses. And, you know, like just to be surrounded by that was just like so inspiring. Felt like I was just thriving there, right? And it was great. And I thought I would be in Atlanta to the day I die, y'all, okay? One thing about following the Lord is you gotta be open to change, okay? Like, he never changes. His word never changes. But the directions he calls you might change. So I'm like 4 years into being in Atlanta. And he led me into the entertainment world. Acting and performing had been something that was in me since I was a little girl. But I never really I never saw anyone around me who were walking those ways. So I just kind of chopped it up to like, okay, it's just a lofty dream. Everybody wants to act and sing and perform. Like that's just, everybody wants to do that. No, they don't. Like, no, some things are really specifically hand placed in you by the Lord. And, you know, it can be hard, especially in the Christian spaces. One thing I had to kind of mentally get over is everyone talks about it's so dark in Hollywood, like it's too evil, like Christians shouldn't be. Where is the light supposed to shine if not in the dark, y'all? Hello? Like, so that was a mindset the Lord had to kind of get me out of. Is like, no, I've called you into this industry. I've given you talents and gifts to use in this place to be a light for me, you know, to get around people and be a light for me. And yeah, so I'm growing in those things and acting. My whole career path shifts into acting, and the Lord is just giving these opportunities, connecting me with people, and just really lighting that path. And it was the summer of 2022. Yeah, summer of 2022. Again, with the same thing from Arizona and Colorado and Atlanta, LA starts jumping out to me everywhere. And the thing about it though is though I looked in like colleges in Southern California, when you live in the Bay Area, which is where I'm from, had moved to, the Bay and LA kind of got their own different vibes, okay? And it kind of are like consider it like the North and the South. Like, we don't really, the Bay is better than LA, and LA people like LA is better than the Bay. Like, there's just kind of this like little stigma there, right? So I was like, I'm from the Bay. Like, I don't mess with LA. Like, it's cool or whatever, Disneyland, whatever, which ain't even in LA, but whatever. So I had this kind of, I don't know. I just had this kind of mindset of like, no, I don't want to live in LA. Summer of 2022, LA starts jumping out to me, and I'm like, this is familiar with how the Lord has led me so far. But I'm like, I don't really want to go to LA. But by this point, I'm walking with the Lord so much, and I've just gotten to the place where I'm like, delayed obedience is disobedience. And I know the Lord's voice. And I've learned it is better for me and for everybody if when the Lord speaks something or gives you a directive, to obey quickly, not to put off what you know he's called you to do. So at this point, I'm like, I know when you're calling me to move. I know when you're leading me to move. It's a given. Like, I have all of these testimonies of how you've led me and directed me. What do I look like questioning you at this point? And so I knew, like, okay, you're putting LA in me, but I'm also like, Lord, LA is expensive. Like, I don't know nobody down there. Like, I don't really know how this would work. And my roommate at the time, as I'm still kind of pondering this, she brings up, because our lease was like ending, and she brings up, what do you think about moving to LA? Boy, when I tell you, the way that the Holy Spirit was like, boom, hit me like dead in my chest and was like, I'm calling you to go. I was like, you would be open to moving to, she was like, yeah, I don't know. So it was like, that was all of the confirmation that I needed at this point, because I know the Lord's voice. Like, I know when he's telling me to do something, because he has shown himself so faithful in guiding me all of this way, that I was like, all right, Lord. And, you know, there was things that transpired, to get there, that was like a hard journey, a hard decisions. But he moved me, y'all. He faithfully moved me and connected me with people here. Just opened up doors for an agent and for work and for places to live, like getting my first apartment, like things that seemed that I was questioning, like, it's really expensive. I don't know how I'm going to. And he just was like, I have you. Boom, 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 boom. So yeah, I just, will I stay forever? I don't know. I'm open to what the Lord, whatever the Lord wants for my life. But I don't know. I want to encourage y'all, like, the Lord is faithful to direct your steps. And many are the plans in a man's heart, but it's the Lord's purposes that prevail. And so on this journey of walking with him, like, one, I just want to encourage y'all, like, it is so much better to obey quickly. Like, obedience is greater than sacrifice, and I hope I could just be an example of that, of like, it's just so much more worth it to the first time he tells you to do something, to do it. You may not know how, you may not know where the provision will come, you may not know where the, living places will come, you may not know what job will come. The Lord is a good shepherd, y'all. Like, he takes care of his people. Don't ever doubt that. Like, he will not leave you hanging. If he has called you to move or, shift a career or anything like that, like, trust him. He is trustworthy. And all of his plans for you, like, are good. They are. They may feel hard. It may be There may be tough decisions you have to make, or, like losing friendships or things that just feel hard, but it is always worth it to follow his leading, follow his guidance. Always, like always. I'm a living testimony of that. So if he's calling you to move, you move. Don't be like Jonah, okay? Don't make him have to move you, all right? Don't make him have to move you. And he knows how to reach you. He knows how to clarify his directions, but just be open to him, open to how he can speak. He speaks through his word. He can speak through, like I said, wise counsel. He can speak through circumstances. He is not in a box. So stay open to his leading, and it'll be so worth it, y'all. So yeah, that's my story of how the Lord has led me, and when he calls me to move, how he just assured me, like, yeah, he knows how to lead his people. And so that is it for today, y'all. He's trustworthy. So yeah, I will see y'all when I see y'all. Hope you have a good one, and be blessed, y'all.